Hey, are you part of the 1% and getting your ass out of bed today? Or are you part of the 99% and hitting the snooze button and rolling over and not starting your day just yet? That's it. Mornings in the Lab with Keith, Jon CMartyFit, and our guest Luke Schmidt joining us here in the lab this morning. Hey, just a heads up, guys, it is an explicit show. So if you guys got some kids in the room, I invite you to put the headphones on. I invite you to tune the children out and welcome us into the morning show this morning. Looking forward to chocolate the conversation today around how to be part of the 1%. So, hey, if you're starting your day, you get two choices, guys. You can roll over and get going right now, like myself, Jon, and Marty. Man, we've been up for hours already helping you guys get your day started. That's why we start our day, to help you be part of the 1%. Or you roll over, hit the snooze button, and hey, you're 9 minutes behind. That's what we're here to talk about today. Mornings in the Lab with Keith, Jon, and CMartyFit, bringing the boys into the lab. What's going on there, gentlemen? Good to have you here today, boys. What's up? What's up? What's up?
What's happening?
What's it's another beautiful morning, baby. It's another beautiful day.
It is another beautiful morning here today. Yes, Luke, I do not have you in the horizontal stream yet, Luke, so I got to get you in the horizontal stream there, pal. So we are here this morning. Mornings in the Lab, the morning loop starting right now, the first 50 minutes every day to get you guys going, get your ass out of bed and rock and roll forward. Johnny, Marty, how was the loop of the last 48 hours? Jon, not calling it the weekend. How was the last 48 hours?
The last 48 hours was great, just like every other 48-hour loop or every other 24-hour loop.
Yes.
It comes down because it's when you live every day in a way that makes you feel good, does it really matter what name you call the day or the loop?
Oh, I like that. That's exactly it. That's exactly what are you, Marty? What's going on with you today, pal?
I had a good weekend, man. Very, very productive.
Good.
Got some rest, so I got no complaints.
Good. Hey, you're tuning in. Keith's got the old black Kangol hat on today. I got some new sunglasses on today. I got the black, what's it say? Always think green t-shirt on today, boys. Check it out. It's a nice little, I thought I'd go a little bit of nostalgia today since we got Luke Schmidt joining us in the lab. We got Jon.
That shirt, is that, Marty, is that shirt getting him closer or further away to your bougie list?
Yeah.
That's a question, Marty. What do you think?
Hey, I got a... Lauren and I went out yesterday, Marty, and I drove by.
He's not even speaking. He's just pumping the button.
Johnny's all in black with the black Jack t-shirt on, black hat, black glasses. Marty's wearing the black Less Crunches, More Crunches t-shirt with his trademark red Beats headphones, rocking it here in the lab this morning. Hey, we drove by a restaurant yesterday, boys, called the Bougie Restaurant. Took a picture for you, Marty. I'll send it over a little bit. Yeah, send it over a little later for you guys today. But we have, listen, this first 14 minutes of the show here is called The Loop. It's the first 14 minutes to get you guys going, to get you guys, get your ass out of bed, get you moving forward in life. Big show today, tweaking the format. Accountability check-in comes to the 14-minute mark. We're going to dig into something we're calling the Spotlight. At the 60-minute mark, bottom of the hour, CMartyFit Tip deep dive. Main topic today, talking about how to achieve the 1% and not be part of the 99%. Luke Schmidt is our guest today. We're going to talk how to be authentic and so forth. And then we got a big show for the whole 90 minutes. But boys, I found something yesterday which I thought made me laugh. I thought it'd make you guys laugh, and I wanted to share with you guys. It's related to our friend who's joining us on Friday. I haven't told you yet, Johnny, but one of the greatest guests of Mornings in the Lab history. I got to get the buttons, Marty. One of the greatest guests in Mornings in the Lab history.
Shitter's got to be coming.
David Sowers.
The shitter's coming, baby. I can't believe shitter.
Shitter is crazy.
The shitter's crazy. But listen, I got a story this morning as part of the morning loop that I thought's relevant. So I haven't opened the package yet from Sowers. And he sends me a text this weekend. He's like, hey, have you opened the package yet? And I'm like, I haven't. So I'm going to do it right now, but it's going to be related to this show, this story I found. So listen to this, boys. An elderly couple was kicked out of a Thessalon, Ontario campground after her guest shit beside the seasonal trailer that somebody else was staying in. The guy got up.
Hold on. Shit on the side of someone else's trailer.
Some guy got up in the middle of the night and he had to go to the bathroom. So instead of going over to the porta potties over there, he just walked over to, I'll use an example, walked over to Marty's trailer, just sat outside the door, dropped his elderly drawers, and just dumped an old shit on the fucking sidewalk outside of Marty's door.
Man, if you're going to do something like that, you got to shit on your own territory. You can't go shit on someone else's. That's just like a slap in the face. If I really got to drop a dump, I'm not going to go do it in a place where Marty's going to step in it. I'm going to do it where it's in my, come on, that's no good.
Listen, the guest was subsequently spotted by campground staffer releasing the contents of his bowels in the great outdoors. He said to them, the park employee just happened to be going by in his truck and rolled down the window and started yelling at him. And he said the guy was very ignorant. And the park employee said did you just shit in the park? I'm calling the cops. And then he peeled away. The guy bent over, picked up his shit, and walked just down the road.
He picked it up. Oh, geez. That's a twist to the story.
After cleaning up his fecal matter,
disgusting.
He proceeded to the campground office to speak with the employee.
I got so many questions about this. Why didn't he? He's in a campground, right?
Yes.
Why the hell didn't he just go sit on the side of a tree rather than the side of somebody's camper?
That's said
the first question.
He wouldn't even speak to us. He just locked the door and said, "Get out of here." He had 3 adult diapers in his hand and food. So perhaps that might be. So I know this is humorous and funny, but maybe there's more going on with the whole situation. But I just police arrived on the scene. Lawyers showed up. They wanted the couple out of the park, so they kicked the elderly couple out of the park because the old man was shitting on the ground.
Well, what was he like old and nutty? Like he didn't know he was doing something wrong?
He probably knew what he was doing.
Well, that's what I'm just trying to figure out here. It's just like, what is it that makes a guy do this? Is he just a sick bastard or is he confused?
You could clearly you could clearly see.
I can be a sick bastard at times, but I'm not going to go take a dump in someone else's yard. If I got to take a dump outside, I'll do it in mine.
So then the couple got kicked out of the campground. And as the couple was getting kicked out of the campground, the wife was yelling back at the police saying, "This is discrimination." And as they were leaving, they cleaned it up, but the feces is somewhere in our park and they left it in their neighbor's garbage.
They're definitely in America talking about some discrimination and you shit in someone's. They're definitely in America. That's our country. That is a prime example of our country nowadays. That's crazy.
Well, here's the thing. That definitely wasn't in California because after COVID in some big cities like San Francisco, you could literally walk up next to a police officer, shake, "How you doing today?" Drop your drawers, take a dump on the sidewalk right next to him, and he can't do a damn thing about it.
Yeah, that could have been in in
California, he couldn't have gotten in trouble. You could take a dump on the street. You could take a piss in the street. This is post-COVID in San Francisco. And there was no problems.
When I lived in LA, when I would drive in Venice and Santa Monica, I saw people peeing and shitting on the sidewalk all the time.
Dude. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and it's like it's just a rite of passage. It's like they think that I don't want to get into that whole thing, but clearly this story was not in California because nobody's getting in trouble for taking a dump on somebody else's camper in California.
Good morning, good time. Good to have you here this morning in the lab. So I thought I would segue for our friend David Sowers. Since we were talking shitting this morning, since we're talking about shitting in the great outdoors, since we're talking about shitting in parks, we know Sowers has the cleanest outdoor restrooms in all of America. Johnny, when you meet David, you're going to be blown away about how this dude's is exceptional. But then
I told you how the conversation is going to go.
Oh, Marty. I think we're just going
to give another invitation. What is because Marty's now getting his Jon invitation down. What's the invitation? Let's hear it.
Man, I told myself in my 20s I'm never getting a job. I'm always going to work for myself. And then Dave is going to be like, "Yeah, I said fuck the bank, and I work for myself too." That's what's going to happen. I'm telling you. I'm going to be cracking up when that happens too. I'm going to be laughing my ass off.
We're going to be sitting in the corner, Marty. Just let those two boys go. So
just let them go.
You and I have Friday off, man. We're just going to let those boys go at it. Sowers and Johnny are just going to go at it on Friday. But I thought what I would do this morning is, for David's sake, I want to open the box he sent over. And he asked, so Marty, he said, "Hey, what's Johnny's t-shirt size?" He wants to send a package to Johnny. So I said, extra wide semi truck. So we'll see if that gets over to John. Well, anyway, so Sours, I'm opening up the package on the air right now, boys. So Marty got his. Marty knows what's in it. I don't.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to open this right now so we all can see. And Johnny's going to get his package, I think, probably after he meets Sours this week. But we're going to open this up on the air, and we're going to have a check what it is. Oh, I can see some purple, boys. I'm seeing some purple. Oh, my goodness. And here we go, boys. We got the purple freaking shit paper from Sours and Company from Royal Restrooms. That is exceptional. So, Marty, is my ass going to be purple when I'm using it?
I don't talk about other grown men's asses.
I got it. What is in that? Is that what's in
That's
that
crazy.
purple? There's got to be some chemicals in that purple, yeah?
Well,
Whoa. Johnny's kid's going to get an infection.
No, but I'm saying, I mean, you know, the sphincter.
Chemical ass.
The sphincter is like that really, really sensitive type skin, like in your mouth where shit just absorbs into that skin.
I love it. I love it.
What is in that purple? It's got to be some.
I don't know, but we're going to check it out. And you know what, Marty? I heard you last week that I guess when the Vikings are playing, the boys are over. You guys are going to pull the purple toilet paper out, eh? That's going to work?
Something like that.
Yeah. So Sours, thanks, brother. I appreciate the purple paper. These are going to go exceptional. We're going to use it for sure. So, boys, I'm going to use it today, and I'll create some content with it today.
I don't think we need to see that content.
No, and I got a nice T-shirt here. I got from Sours. Oh, I got a nice Royal Restrooms T-shirt here. Wow, St. Patty's Day. I like that. And of course, I got the old Kruger Campers T-shirt too. David's got an exceptional camper package too. Johnny, you're gonna have to check that out too, pal. When you go up to Salt Lake City, to Lake Tahoe, brother, he's got incredible camper company. Johnny, you're gonna say?
I was gonna, since we've been talking about this, since I've gone into a few porta potties,
yes.
And I get in there and it's like the standard for me is I open a door, catch a whiff. Okay, what am I dealing with here? Is this a deep breath, hold your breath type scenario, or can I take a couple breaths once I get inside? And these last couple these are hold your breath scenarios. Yes. And I think, damn it, this is where I need Mr. Shitters.
Oh, you definitely. Yes. So I also got an envelope from David too, but Marty and John, I'm suspecting it's not a check. So I don't.
It's not a check. I wish it was.
We're not.
Well, maybe you'll get the check. I didn't get a check.
It looks like it's a nice, wonderful thank you card from David, which we'll open a little bit later. But David, thank you, brother. I appreciate you so much. Looking forward to having you here on Friday in the lab, hanging out with myself, Jon, and CMartyFit. But boys, it is time. Oh, here we go. We got a good time here with Awesome So Young coming. It is actually true. That is absolutely true. And yes, act shit exists. Jon Andersen is buff as fuck. Thanks for joining us here in the lab. Hey, good reminder. Subscribe to the show. You're on the channel right now. Hit subscribe. We are the morning show to help you get your ass out of bed. We have energy. We have positivity. We have content to get you moving to help you be part of the 1%. But boys, it is time to do this part of the show to keep us on track. Oh, yep. Johnny, break time for you. Marty, stretch time for you. And it is time for me to go to this. Most people play it safe in life. Yes, most people play it safe in life. Are you one of them? Are you one of those people that play it safe in life? Because if you're chasing trends, you're just hanging on. The words of that guru who's trying everybody's playbook instead of writing your own, you know what? You're already losing. You'll never know true fulfillment because you'll always be in someone's shadow. Someone who built a vision that was theirs alone. Stop copying. Stop settling. Start owning. Start making your own rules. Don't wait for permission because you weren't made to fit in. Build a life around your vision of success, not anybody else's vision of success. It's your life. Own it. Don't wait for permission to create it. That's today's accountability check-in. Mornings in the lab. We drop it every single day around this time. We're going to bring on our guest, Luke Schmidt. Thank you, Al. Shit exists. I appreciate you subscribing to the channel today. All right. So we got a full stack engineer with over 10 years of experience. Does weed affect muscle growth in people that size? I don't know, man. I think it chills you out in life, brother. Just take a, slows you down. What's up, Marty?
What was that?
How was your stretch?
It was good, man.
All right, Johnny's back. We got Luke Schmidt up on the stage, and here we go. We're going to keep it rolling. Here we got a guy who is leading a team of developers to reinvent how software is built in education, pushing boundaries and making innovation the norm. He's not just a tech whiz. He's not just a fan of the show. He's not just a one-percenter. Apparently, Luke and John, apparently he's a comedian. Might be funnier than the host here today. With a love for nostalgia, that's why I put the her shirt on. I had a Jaws shirt I was going to wear. Is that the Jaws shirt, Luke, or the weed shirt? I chose the weed shirt.
And all right, too, though, brother. Jaws would be a cool shirt as well.
I love Jaws. Best movie of all time, man. One of the best movies of all time. He's passionate about people being real, being themselves, owning their authenticity. His current tech stack reads like a who's who of modern programming: TypeScript, Python, Node.js, ton of more. And if you need a CRM fixed, you might want to call Luke, an AI-powered chatbot built or some Azure magic done. Luke's your guy. Luke Schmidt is joining us here in the lab.
What up, Luke?
What's up, Luke? How you doing, brother?
Hey, you made it on the show, man. You made it on the show.
We did it. Thanks
you did it.
Me. I love the show.
Yeah, so you have been hanging out in the old feeds, hanging out with Keith and Marty and John, and you've been kind of just sniffing in the feed and saying, hey, I like the show. And I'm like, hey, why don't you come on the show, man? So here you are now.
Here I am. And hey,
yeah.
I love the nostalgia. I love it, Keith. Did you know, speaking of Jaws?
Yes.
Jaws was the movie that came out that made everyone afraid of sharks. A lot of people know that, but before that, people were not afraid to go in the ocean as much.
Really?
Well, they definitely made that. They made that very apparent in that movie. That going in the ocean puts you at risk. There's no question about that.
So I'll tell you boys something. I was fortunate. I was very fortunate or unfortunate. The lead videographer on Jaws, his name was Rodney Fox. He's
Canadian?
No, he's actually Australian. He got bitten. He got bitten by a shark during primary photography of Jaws.
No shit.
Wow. From that situation, he got attacked. From that situation, he invented the shark cage. I went down to the bottom of the ocean in Rodney Fox expeditions in October 5 years ago in the South Australian Ocean out by the Neptune Islands. Marty's going there next year with me. And we hung out with Rodney Fox in the cage with white sharks in the South Neptune Islands. So there you go. So there's my linkage to Jaws. We hung out with Rodney Fox, doing some fun stuff there with Jaws. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yes. Yeah. So Johnny, he took a misfortune and turned it into an opportunity. He's like, fuck, man, I got eaten by a shark. I'm going to take this and turn it into a multi-million-dollar opportunity, build himself a great business.
That is exactly what life's all about. It's the things that kick us in the nuts the hardest are always going to be the biggest opportunities. You just got to, when you get kicked in the nuts and you're on your hands and knees, you should be thinking, shit, I can see things differently down here. What am I supposed to see?
Yes.
Thanks, Johnny.
Adam's joining us this morning. Yes, at Jaws main title track 2 notes. I don't know I'm not sure if I know what that means, but maybe there's some hidden innuendo in that. Listen, Jaws is one of the best movies of all time here, but let's keep our chat going on with Luke Schmidt. So Luke, you are a nostalgia guy. Why nostalgia and why comedy? Talk to us a little bit about Luke and comedy and nostalgia.
Sure. Yeah, let's get real. I mean, hey, comedy is a great way when you're struggling in life, or hey, when you just had a long day, especially in IT, we all got hard days. If you go through the day and, exercise, I think, is a great way. There's a lot of talk, I know, in the show about that. Yeah. But what else can you do? What else can you do to de-stress when you're done with your workout? Comedy is a great supplement, I think. Let loose, enjoy the laughs, and, take it easy.
There's actual science to back that up. Laughter actually has your brain releasing chemicals that make you happy. Even as far as the smile, the muscles that make you smile trigger a different response than the muscles that make you frown. So, I mean, being happy, whether you're just happy or listening or watching something that makes you laugh, there is no question what we're talking about here is real. It's not just some wives' tale. Hey,
Marty, I love how Johnny has now become the scientist on our show. So
I mean, Johnny knows a lot of stuff, man.
Johnny knows a lot of shit.
Surprisingly.
Here's the thing. I know a lot of stuff about a few things. Let's keep that straight. And when it comes to performance of the body and the mind, that's my jam. I got some deep roots in that one. You asked me about something in technology, I'm sitting there screaming, "Give me back my fax machine."
So I don't know, I don't know about that actually, Johnny, because I have been witnessing over here the last couple of weeks when guests are coming onto the show. You yourself are talking to guests through the technical requirements, how to get them on the show.
And it's because I can only help them solve the problems that I solved. Outside of that, I'm no good. I'm no good to you.
Appreciate you, John.
That double tab thing, man. That was a doozy for me too, brother.
Well, you're doing just fine with it. We got Real Deal Prime showing us here in the lab. I've never been average. Good for you. You know why you're not average, Real Deal? I know you're not average because you're here with us in the morning. The only morning show to get you guys going, get your ass going, and not hit the snooze button. We're hanging out with Luke Schmidt here today, the nostalgia guy. And we got Jeffrey Wolf saying, smoke a big and fat joint. Well, sometimes there's a time and place for that, for sure. Sometimes there's not a time. But sometimes there's absolutely time and place for that, especially if you're going to turn some jaws on. And speaking of nostalgia, Luke, speaking of nostalgia, we have to look no further than Cheech and Chong when it comes to nostalgia and smoking weed.
Oh man, what was it?
Classics.
What was it? The next movie, was that what it was called? That was a doozy.
Dude, driving around in the van, smoking dog shit and hanging out, like that's just we don't see movies like that anymore, Luke.
No, I think the closest you had was, they tried to modernize it with the whole Kevin Smith thing, right? With the Jay and Silent Bob. But that's died out too. I mean, I think frankly, comedy in general, I mean, man, I can't tell you the last time I saw a good comedy.
You know what it is? You know what I think about the comedies now is they're not as clever. It's like it's like this humor that's just kind of too surface. Give me some comedy that's like you hear it and you're like, there's almost like a second layer of laughter to it. You know what I mean? It's like clever. It's clever. It's not just, like the Naked Gun series, just like the kind of goofy humor. There's not a lot of cleverness to that. So it doesn't really float my boat.
We're hanging out.
You got to be. Oh, my bad.
Well, go ahead, Marty.
You got to be careful now because you offend everybody now.
Well, it's just my opinion. It's my opinion. But you should know, if your opinion offends somebody, you're good to go with that, right?
Yeah. No, well, I'm saying like in any movie or even look at comedians. Yes. Look at Dave Chappelle. They even what's the young guy's name? The white kid. I forgot his name. Not kid, but I forgot his name. But he has a Netflix special, and it's just like you offend everybody now. So I think they've taken a step back from comedy.
I got you. I see what you're talking about.
Yeah, I wasn't talking about you specifically.
I didn't understand that comment. My apologies.
Yeah, my bad. I wasn't talking about you specifically, but yeah. I want to add that in there.
I was ready for the shot, baby. It was coming after me.
You're always ready for me to say some slick shit. I actually wasn't that time.
I wonder if comedy's become diluted because we have so much content around us everywhere. And to Marty's point, we're so afraid of offending somebody. But more importantly, there's so much content now amongst us, Luke, that some's funny, some's not funny. Yesterday, when we grew up and we had only so much streams of content, when you found something funny, it's like, okay, there's the Comedy Channel. I don't know. Maybe there's just so much content now, Luke, where comedy's become somewhat watered down. What's your comment on that?
I think there might be some truth to that, Keith. I mean, there's so many outlets, as we know, for media that, maybe what hits for someone doesn't hit for someone else. And maybe some of the stuff that you would like doesn't get to you, because of the feeds, it's a lot about what you put into it. So if you're not cultivating that content to get to you, it's hard to break through. And I think that's why LinkedIn is so powerful, frankly. I mean, LinkedIn gives you the outlet and, to put your comedy out there if you're looking for it. So that's just something I've been looking to explore too. And I think the streams are there. You just got to find them.
Yeah. But it's to Marty's point, there's that fear of offending someone. But I'll tell you, I read something yesterday. I'm going to bring it up later this week here. Will Wheaton wrote a post yesterday. He's a former actor and he talks about comedy and how comedy's changed. And he talked about, just these ideas of locker room stories shows exactly why homophobic jokes are a problem. And I got to be honest with you boys. I read this story. I'm not going to get into it right now today, but I read this story yesterday and I was like, geez, that really made me think about things. Because, we've often used comedy to make fun of situations, but also make fun of humans. And I got to be honest with you, as I'm getting a little bit older in life, I don't know if I like this idea of dehumanizing humans anymore. I don't know where there's humor in that, boys.
That's interesting. I'm thinking back to Eddie Murphy Raw, and I'm thinking back when he was just just dicing people up. And I mean, granted, I was a little guy at that point, but I was laughing my ass off.
Well, you know, it's funny you mentioned that, John, because this story talks about that. And this story, Will Wheaton, the same age as you and I. So Eddie Murphy's Raw was one of the most pivotal comedy movies of my lifetime. No question about it. There, you know, if you're watching it today, it's
a different creature now.
It's horrifying. It's Marty, you're familiar with it?
Yeah. And the same with what's the other comedian's name? The guy who passed away. Black guy.
Richard Pryor,
the same thing with him, man. Richard Pryor, right? Oh my God.
Yeah, but again, I asked myself, okay, so yes, I'm one of those guys that laughed in the past about that for sure. But I gotta be honest, I asked myself today, if I was in a locker room with it, on the Eddie Murphy one, right? He goes after different groups. He obviously, and a big part of Raw, there's much discussion around homophobia and homosexuality and so forth. And I don't know how comfortable I am reflecting in my head about that today, because that's dehumanizing somebody who I might love. And I'm like, this doesn't make me feel very good today. I don't know. It's just kind of one of those.
Let me counter you on that one. I'm playing devil's advocate here.
Yeah, please do, Marty.
I'm not necessarily giving my opinion.
Yeah.
Now, if we're all equal, everyone wants to be treated with respect. Everyone wants to be treated with love.
Yes.
Why is it that we can't joke on everybody? Now, let's say you got a black comedian. He's making jokes about white people.
Yes.
Totally fine.
Yes.
But now, when a white comedian is making jokes about black people, which is probably funny, but you got people getting offended. And I feel the same thing with, you know, whether you're straight or whether you're homosexual. You know, it's all jokes at the end of the day. Because if a homosexual comedian goes up there and makes straight jokes, I would think it was funny. I think most people would think it was funny. So that's my only issue, and kind of what I hit on earlier with, you know, everybody just gets offended nowadays. It's just jokes at the end of the day. So
it's hard to disagree with. Hold on, Joe. It's hard to disagree with you, Marty, but I think it's as part of a bigger conversation, because it just makes me curious and it makes me wonder. So you're right. Black guys joking about white guys joking about black guys. It's jokes, or is it? And that's the question I think we can have around the table one day coming up.
Well,
John.
I think the first thing that someone needs to do if they're watching something they get offended is simply turn it off. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Great idea.
Turn it off. You don't have to watch it. You sit there and get more deeply offended because you're sitting there allowing salt to get thrown on your wound. Who's the dummy?
Well, and there certainly is something said to be said for that, Johnny. You know, that you again, that's something I ask myself in society too, is that we're so used to accommodating. I have an idea, to Johnny's point, change the channel. And oh, by the way, if you don't like what we're talking about, change the channel, because we are here to get your ass out of bed. We're here to get you guys moving. We are here to help you achieve the biggest goals. Right now, coming up, CMartyFit, Christopher Martin is going to get into the CMartyFit tips, something to get you guys moving and get you thinking about the day. Then when we come back, we're going to sit down with Luke Schmidt. And we're going to move from comedy and we're going to move into how to be the 1%er, how to be authentic. You look around this table, there's no other Jon Andersen in the world. There's no other Marty Fit in the world. There's no other Luke Schmidt in the world. But how do you be part of the 1%? We're going to get into it coming up in 2 minutes. But first of all,
that's going to be a good conversation, buddy.
Yes, we got this coming up first. Nope. That one.
There you go. Get it together, man. All right, we got the fitness tip for today. All right, so today's fitness tip is going to be a little bit different. All right, now we're going to talk about the three of the worst exercises that waste your time and won't help you reach your fitness goals. Now, don't go too crazy. I'm not saying don't ever do these. You can do these, but just understand that you can get more bang for your buck and more efficiency with other choices. So let's get into it. Smith machine squats. Although the Smith machine seems beginner friendly, it restricts your natural movement pattern. This can lead to imbalanced muscle activation, putting unnecessary stress on your knees and lower back. Right? So when you do the Smith machine squat, you know, you'll get some muscle engagement, but it's not going to be the same as, you know, doing a free weight squat, where you're actually getting the same motion that you perform daily when you sit in the car, when you sit in your chair. Like I'm sitting here, when you sit on the toilet, all right? You're better off mastering free weight squats. They're going to engage more muscles, and it's going to improve your stability more. Number 2, crunches. I'm not saying don't ever do crunches, but just know there are better core exercises, all right? Crunches isolate a small portion of your abs, but they don't burn enough calories or effectively strengthen your core. It's not really going to strengthen your core like a leg raise or like a plank or like a Swiss ball ab rollout, okay? Compound movements like deadlifts and planks, like I just mentioned, engage your entire core while boosting overall strength. And any barbell movement is going to engage your core as well. And number 3, behind the neck lat pull downs, okay? This move risks serious injury. Now, I'm not saying don't ever do it. If you've been doing it for years and you're comfortable with it and you haven't gotten hurt and you want to continue, go ahead, okay? But this is a serious risk to your shoulders and your neck, all right? Most people lack the shoulder mobility needed for this exercise, and the strain outweighs the benefit. So you can do regular pull downs, you can do pull-ups. There are plenty of safer back exercises you can do. Stay smart with your training. Always prioritize exercises that give you the most return for your effort. That's the fitness tip for today.
All right, there's the fit tip of the day with Christopher Martin CMartyFit. Every single day at the bottom of the hour. Bringing back Luke Schmidt, Jon Andersen. We're getting into the conversation today around how to be part of the 1%, the 1% that gets you moving through life. And boys, I got some stats here I want to pull up here. All right, so
real quick before we're talking about the 1% conversation, correct?
Yes, we are.
Okay, so I guarantee you the 1%, if they were watching something that offended them, they would turn it off and move away and never think about it again.
Ooh.
Guaranteed. Yes. Let's just put that right on the table. Our last conversation needed to get a fucking smackdown with, hey, if you're a 1%, you don't spend your time bitching about being offended about what somebody said, especially if you don't love them and they don't love you.
There you go. There you go. There you go. What's up, Enzo? Good to have you here, man. I saw you on the horizontal. I just hadn't got there. You're gonna notice the show, Enzo, moving pretty fast these days. We've revised the script. We got chop, 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 chop. We're ready to rock and roll here. So we just keep moving here. Good to have you here, Enzo, this morning on the show. Boys, so 85% of people, Luke, report feeling pressure to present a perfect image on social media. Now, here's the burden of perfectionism. Social media and workplace culture often drive the idea that perfection equals success, but it's a myth that leads to burnout. Luke, question for you coming up, pal. How often do you feel like you're putting up a front, either online or professionally, to match others' expectations? You talk about the obsession, Luke, with fame, money, and perfection in your content that you create. How does rejecting that mindset help people stand out and find true success? Luke Schmidt.
Look, in this job market, especially in software engineering, there is no room for complacency. It seems tempting. You know, you see the people putting stuff out there that's relatable, that's safe, that fits the mold, fits the narrative, and it's tempting. But that's exactly what's going to make you fall into that group with everyone else and not stand out for that job. So from a professional standpoint, it's critical that you stand out. Now, from a personal standpoint, I think personally that's more important. I mean, you need to be true to yourself. You need to present yourself to the world because that's where the real growth happens. The real growth does not happen when you're mimicking, top content creator out there.
Yeah, it's so true. Johnny.
Perfection is basically camouflage procrastination. So if you're looking to get ahead of the pack, looking to make some, really trying to make some gains in whatever it is you're doing, don't worry about perfection. Worry about making a little bit of progress every day. Because if you can do that, you're going to separate yourself from the pack really quick because the majority of them are trying to create this perfect scenario. And guess what? 3 days go by and they haven't done shit.
Yeah. Luke, when you hear Johnny talk about perfection and procrastination and that analogy that perfection is procrastination in disguise or in camouflage, what do you hear when you hear him say that, Luke?
I hear truth.
Yeah,
that's exactly what it is. Look, I have posts from when I first started, when I was exploring with AI, and I'm embarrassed of that I leave out there because that's just part of my growth. That's part of my path. And people need to see that, especially people that are starting out. You look at all these perfect people and you're starting out, it's overwhelming. I only got started on LinkedIn like 4 months ago. And frankly, I didn't know where to start. And I was copying people. I was trying to find my voice, find who I was online, find who I was, represent that. And that growth just in a few months, if you can embrace that fear, overcome it, turn it into what's exciting and motivating. Jon, I think I heard you talk about this. That is where the sauce is. That's the power.
Luke, you took a 3-year break from social media. What prompted you? What prompted that? And how did this idea of embracing authenticity, leaning into yourself, recognizing that nostalgia is important to you, recognizing that being fully authentic, being that 1% was going to be the way that you were going to bring yourself back? Talk about coming back to social media and then coming back as your authentic self, Luke.
Well, I took that break to answer your first question because I was tired of it. You know, things got so heated online. It felt like it was really tense there for a while. I was starting a family. I just thought, you know what, I got to recalibrate with what's really important in life. Focus on people, the people in my life, not this online noise. And it centered me and it brought a lot of perspective. And then over time, what that turned into was kind of seeing, you know, how things are reported, being more aware of biases, just not really interested in that whole grind that they put out there for us to eat up. And so then when I came back, I was like, you know, if I'm going to do this, first of all, I'm only going to do it on a platform that's productive and real and tied to who I am. And that's exactly what LinkedIn is. So I did that. And I thought, you know what, if I'm going to do this, I also have to stand out. I'm sick of these platitudes. That's part of what's never really worked for me in social media. Let's go for it. Let's put it out there. Let's be weird, you know, good weird, but let's do it in a way that people know who you are and what you stand for.
I like that.
And what he's basically saying is he's talking about respectfully, unapologetically being himself. And that's what, I mean, we talk about that all the time. Authentic means that you have the guts to be yourself, you know, and the idea of trying to create something for social media, especially with the idea that it's going to be perfect, is the guaranteed way for you not to get what you want.
Absolutely. I was going to add in too, as far as the social media thing. And this might not be the right quote, but this is what I thought of. What's done in the dark comes to light, because, you know, whatever, you know, the real you, if you're faking on social media, it's going to come out eventually. And I know I've seen that in the fitness world, especially when I lived in LA. I mean, it's crazy. So, Luke, I don't know if, you know, I don't want you to put anyone on blast or anything, but if you have a story or something specific you can share where you saw something and it was like, you know what, man, I'm done with social media for 3 years. I know you had to see something, so you want to share that with us, or I don't know if you want to keep that to yourself, but we would love to hear that.
Sure, Marty. I appreciate you asking. Yeah, I mean, I don't have a specific example. It was just the general artificial like nature of everything. And I still see it today. I think we all do. You know, and I'm not going to call out anyone because there are people I'm connected to and I respect them. But, you know, at the same point, I will say it's very clear to me when you're putting out cookie cutter content to get the, you know, farm the engagement and whatnot. Excuse me. And when you're putting out that cookie cutter content, it's just like, come on, we can do better here. The people eat it up and they engage, but it's going to come to a point where when people really need you, when it really comes down to it, they're going to see you just fall apart. And it's not what I want to see. I want people to be their authentic selves, but that's just the reality of the situation. You can't put on that mask forever. And this is coming from someone, look, I totally get it. I've been there. It's going to fall apart. You got to take that mask off. It's scary, but oh my gosh, the gains you get once you do that, it's life-changing.
Liberating. When you say, brother, once you say, screw it, I'm not trying to pretend anymore. It's liberating as hell, you know? And then, you know, when people start to recognize you for you, like I got a buddy of mine who's got a really big podcast. He's been doing it from the beginning of podcasts, and I've been on his show multiple times. And one of the things he said to me, which was really cool, and I've known him on and off, you know, the camera, if you will. And he said, you are 100% Jon Andersen every day, whatever you're doing, wherever you are. And I thought that to me, that's a massive compliment, because someone that sees you in a setting like this versus seeing you in all different settings, if you're that same guy everywhere, then you found your way to not give a shit what everybody else thinks about who you are. You're being truly who you are. And that's what it's all about.
That's it. That's it. Hey, you're hanging out with Keith, Jon, CMartyFit, and our guest, Luke Schmidt. We're talking about how to be the 1%, how to get your ass going in the morning, how to achieve the biggest goals, how to be vulnerable, how to be authentic, how to not be like everybody else. Luke, have you found that showing vulnerability or flaws has helped you connect more deeply with your audience or your team? And lean into that, Luke.
Both. We'll start with the audience. I think the audience knows a lot more than people think they know. They can sense bullshit easily, and there's not a big appetite for it. What people are hungry for is authenticity, and they're not even hungry for it. They're starving for it.
Yeah.
This is something that we have needed for some time, and I think this is the mentality of the future. If you don't embrace authenticity and vulnerability in an aggressive way, like your life depends on it, you're not going to go far. You're just not. We have to get the courage to overcome that. And then as it comes to the team, I mean, my team probably is like, what is going on with this guy? I'm putting myself out there. I'm being hyper vulnerable with them. And frankly, in a culture, in an area that's very, kind of conservative,
Yes.
We're in the Midwest, we're in Wisconsin. That's very unusual, and people don't like that. So there's been a lot of challenges too. I mean, warnings at work, it's that sort of thing. But you just got to go for it, because ultimately you're going to find your people, you're going to connect with who is important, who matters to you, and you're going to make a really big difference.
Have you had pushback, Luke, with being vulnerable and being your authentic self? And Johnny, coming up with your lifestyle tip here, and after Luke's response, have you had some pushback, Luke, on any of this from your team?
My team loves it. They love it. At first, I don't think they knew what to make of it. There was a lot of I'd say something and there'd be like silence. I'm like, ooh, maybe I went too far here or whatever. Of course, you have that line. You don't cross a certain line, of course, especially professionally. But
Yes.
I was walking right up to it, and then they started slowly coming around. They would see like, oh, I can be safe with this guy. I can trust this guy. This guy has my best intention. He has best intentions for me. And then they just really, now they're participating, and we're thriving. It's a beautiful team.
Yeah, that's exceptional. All right, we're going to come back with, we're going to continue the conversation, how to be the 1%. We're going to take a quick break here. Jon Andersen to come with our lifestyle tip. We're going to come back with some nostalgia, and then we're going to get the CMartyFit and Jon Andersen in the gym segment at the top of the hour. Then we're going to come back with Luke and continue the conversation around how to be part of that 1%. But right now, we got this.
That music is so much better, brother. Thank you. All right. The lifestyle tip is designed to help you be better at what you're doing every day, whatever it is. So here's the deal. If you could have more energy, if you could have more focus, if you could have the tools to have a better day every day, wouldn't you do it? Especially if it was simple. Well, that's what we're going to talk about right now. So what we need to think about is fueling your body properly. Now, fueling actually has to do with food and water. The two together is what the body needs to basically be on point, be highly productive, focused, all that kind of good stuff. So here's the tip. What you need to do is think about eating a little something. And I'm not talking about a meal. I'm talking about, even if it's a healthy snack, eating a little something about every 3 hours. I know that sounds like a big task, but now I'm going to give you the second part of the tip, which is to use technology. You're going to set alarms on your phone, put them on vibrate so they're not going off with some crazy sound in the middle of your meeting or whatever. Vibrate every 3 hours. Now, this is not some overly rigid, got to stop what you're doing. It's just a friendly reminder. Boom, that thing goes off. I guess I got to eat a little something. If we're talking about a handful of almonds, we're talking about hard-boiled egg, we're talking about any piece of healthy food. Whole real food is the way to go. If you have to resort to a protein bar or something like that, that's better than nothing. But what I'm getting at is when that alarm goes off, you have a couple of bites of something and a small glass of water. And if you do this with any regularity on that 3-ish hour mark throughout the day, by day 2, possibly even by the end of day 1, you're going to start to feel better. If you suffer from the afternoon, oh my God, I'm tired, this is going to solve your problem. If you have a hard time waking up in the morning and you don't get your shit straight quickly, obviously talked about water out of bed. This again is going to help you. So simple, actionable way for you to have more energy and more focus on a daily basis. Small price to pay for a better quality of life. Rock and roll.
Awesome. There's the lifestyle tip with Jon Andersen every single day at the 45-minute mark of the show. Mornings in the lab with Keith, Jon, CMartyFit, and our guest today, Luke Schmidt. We're talking how to be part of the 1% and don't be average. Guys, you're listening right now. You're kind of you're thinking you're an average dude. You're better than that. Look at Andersen. Look at Marty. Look at Luke. There is a way to be part of the 1%, and we're talking about it here today. We're going to come back to that conversation in about half an hour. But right now, we're going to move into nostalgia. Luke, 79% of people say that nostalgia provides comfort and helps them cope with stress. In a recent post, Luke, you wrote about Marty. We needed this sound effect if I was better prepared. Luke wrote about Super Mario Brothers 3 as comfort during a difficult time in his childhood. Many people turn to familiar memories or media in tough times. And you know what I've turned to in the past, boys? I've turned to WWE programming. That's what I've used for my
Yes, sir.
Seriously, when I just want to kind of let my mind not think and just be entertained. When I was going through my divorce, I've gone through like highly personal moments where my mind is mush. I've turned on video games or I turn on wrestling. True story. Why is that, boys? Luke.
Well, first of all, a +1 to WWE. I mean, I know people, give pro wrestling a hard time, and I just don't see it. I mean, look, if it's not your thing, it's not your thing. But
Change channel.
1995 right now. I'm going through the Raws. I'm at King of the Ring. I mean, this is my right before 11. I gotta watch one match at least. I slowly make my way through. It's true though. Look, it's comforting because it's familiar. It's a way for, again, I think it's kind of a combination of things, right? Exercise, laughter, nostalgia. You got to take care of yourself, and these are ways to take care of yourself physically and mentally. I see nothing wrong with it.
It's positive associations. When you think of nostalgic, something that in your past that you've enjoyed, that you had pleasure with, and then you get to go back there. It's a positive association. Your brain recognizes positivity. It recognizes comfort. It recognizes a place where it can go and leave whatever's stressing you out behind. So that positive association is massive, and it can be used in all sorts of parts of your life.
Marty. Yeah, I do the same thing with music as well. Like if I was going through something and I had a song that helped me, I'll play that song, years later if I'm going through the same thing. So. Yeah. But yeah, I'm big on the nostalgia, and I don't judge people for their different taste and what helps them. Everybody's different, Just because someone doesn't like what you like doesn't mean something's wrong with them,
Yeah.
Let me use an example of music, brother. So when I was wrestling, I would leave for weeks at a time. So what I would do is I would get my kids in the car and we would go do something. We would drive, somewhere, go get them some ice cream or whatever. What we would play certain songs. And what we were doing is we were creating memories and associations that we could live in when I was gone. And it was like literally one of my daughters just sent me a song that one of our songs that we made memories with. And God, it was like 2010. And I turned that thing on. I was listening. I just started giggling, because it was an association, a song that associated with us laughing. And it's like crystal clear. That would have been, I had the chin moving, but it was a 100% happy cry. I don't know if tears actually showed up, but they were in the mail.
Luke, when you tuned into this show, you discovered us a few months back on LinkedIn, and we started getting to know each other. I'm not looking for platitudes. I'm asking more so a curious question. Could you sense the nostalgia reeking out of this show that we're trying to put together? Luke Schmidt.
Yeah. I mean, what morning shows exist anymore that are consistent? I mean, the fact that you guys do this every day, it's beautiful.
We're trying to do something that and so it's funny because we got a comment here on the feed here, Marty. I'm not going to put on stage here because the guy used some words I'm not going to relate to. But yes, Ted, this is a 90s Fest podcast because we're just reaping in nostalgia. Because I don't know, Luke. There seems to be a shift happening with culture. There seems to be a shift happening where we're looking back to the 90s in fashion. It seems like, so my boy's 17, and there seems to be this shift moving more to an analog. You know, part of the world's going to AI, and part of the world's going back to, no, I want vinyl records, I want some cassettes.
Dude, everything rotates. It's 20 years. It's a cycle.
Yes.
You know, the bell bottoms come back every 20 years.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. Absolutely. Luke, you got kids now. You said you have kids. So how do you talk about nostalgia with your kids, or are your kids not at the age, though, where they're not really appreciative of some of the old wrestling you're watching or some of the old music you're listening to? Luke?
Not quite that old. My oldest is 3.5, but he loves playing. So we have the Nintendo Switch game console, and he loves playing the old games they have in there as part of their online pack. And so we'll play some old NES, old Nintendo Entertainment System games, and Super Mario 3, and boy, is he bad at it. And I posted about this, but he still loves playing them. And that's kind of shocking to me because it's not something I've promoted. You know, I say, here's this game I'm playing, and then he picks up on it, right? Because he's my kid, but he keeps trying different games. And I just think that is very interesting and something I don't see a lot in kids these days.
Yes. David, I appreciate you, man. Yes, the 90s were cool. I can't argue with you there, pal. I was hanging out at the clubs here in Winnipeg doing my thing in the 90s. And David, while you're tuning in, I invite you to subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to Mornings in the Lab. As Luke said, we're the only morning show. We go Monday to Friday, 8 o'clock Eastern time here on YouTube, LinkedIn, X. Myself, Jon Andersen, CMartyFit. We get up to help you guys get moving every single day. And we are just getting started with this show. Luke, Super Mario Brothers 3, it has stuck around for all these years. It's a nostalgic video game. It represents so many memories for all of us. Why?
Can I ask you a question before Luke answers it?
Yeah.
I'm assuming I'm asking for myself, but there's got to be other people. What's the difference between Super Mario Brothers and Super Mario Brothers 3?
Yes.
Good question. For me, I mean, some people will say it's the greatest game of all time. The reason for that is because you've got the first Mario, which is iconic. Everyone knows that. I don't have to explain that. The third one, what's different? What's better? Mario can transform into different things. So now he's got the fire suit. He had that in the first one. But he's also got a frog suit. He's also got a raccoon suit. And the gameplay is pretty dynamic. You can warp to different levels. Yes, you could do that in the first one. But there was just a lot of nostalgic design. It was tied deeply to, it's kind of a cult classic, but a movie called The Wizard from 1989. Nintendo's marketing force in the early 90s really picked up. And so for a lot of people, all those things together builds this concoction of just nostalgia. And a lot of people call it their favorite game of all time. And I'm one of them.
I never heard that breakdown before.
Yeah, get into it, Marty.
No, I play.
Brother. I'm totally with you. This is all news to me.
Johnny, were you a video game player? Johnny, were you a video game player? You don't strike me as one who played a lot of video games. Did you?
Well, I mean, in college, I played a little bit of Super Mario, but I got no idea what version I was playing. It was just, it was like, and it was more one of those things to where, in those, in the dorms, you had kind of like hangouts and, people's rooms. And so if people were playing, I would try, but that was it. I was never a video gamer. I was very, very concerned with my time in the gym. Gym was number one. Chasing girls was number two. A little bit of golf, and class just barely fit in the bottom of the spectrum.
Hey, Marty, I think if it was Super Mario in the gym, then Jon Andersen would be the fucking king. Super Mario in the gym with Jon Andersen.
Super Mario lifts.
Yeah.
I didn't even see Marty fall out of his chair. What was so funny about that, Marty?
Just though, because I could see you doing it, John. Luke, could you not see the game? Jon Andersen and Super Mario just battling it out.
Yeah, he's like, jumping on plates and stuff. I'm like, I got him.
If you're talking smack, you're on the right track. And then there's the fucking Mario.
Oh my God.
He's like, I know how Bowser's gonna be.
says, Yoel Adams jumps in and says to us, Super Mario Bros. 3 and Super Mario Bros. World tightened up all the movement the world designs and the harmony between the movement and the world. And he says, it's also complicated at that time. Kids actually like the game to be hard. I guess that's true. I think we want games to be hard, don't we, Luke?
Yeah, we do. We do. And fun fact, since you brought that up with Mario here, Super Mario 2 was actually supposed to be Super Mario 1, but with way harder levels. But the Japanese market thought it was too hard for America. So since we're doing Super Mario history, I just had to slip that in.
Really?
Whoa, what is that supposed to mean?
Really?
Dude, if you spend a little time in Japan, you see exactly, you would understand that perfectly.
They're intense. John, I mean, when you're wrestling over there, different audience too, right? You know,
yeah, it's totally different. In America, people are just yelling and they don't even know why they're yelling. They're just making noise. It's like in perfect example, in a match in America, you could literally be in there talking to the guy. As long as they can't see your lips, you could have a conversation loud like this because everybody's just fucking going nuts all the time. Japan, it's dead quiet. So you got to communicate with your partner, and you could hear a pin drop. Then they see something they like, they'll clap, and then it dies back down. So it's a totally, the Japanese are not just going to yell to yell; they want a reason to yell, which that's just shows crazy. The difference right there.
So they think we're not very smart.
I think as a whole, I don't think the Japanese culture worries about judging other cultures. That's even makes them even more high society. We're the only dipshits that sit here and say we're better than everybody.
7 times comes in and says to us, everybody plays either Battlefield or Call of Duty. Nobody plays Mario anymore unless you still use Nintendo. I think people still play a lot of Nintendo. 7 times 7 magic line. I think that's absolutely the case. And then David Rogers comes back and says, well, I say video games led to the cell phone. Now, when I was a kid, the only games we played was out of the yard, physical, like football, baseball, dodgeball, not sitting in the house hiding. I don't know. I think there's something to be said for all of that. What else we got here? Games are trash these days. I don't know. Luke, are games trash these days? What's your opinion on Cortez's comment?
Mostly. I would agree. I mean, there's a couple. Like, there's this game, Baldur's Gate 3. That was a pretty epic unveiling last year. And there's a couple here and there. The new Final Fantasy games, they're okay usually. But it's the video game industry is actually this is a whole different conversation. It's kind of in hot water right now. I'm not really sure where we go from here.
Why?
I feel like I was gonna say I feel like all the best games now are like nostalgic, like games that I played Final Fantasy when I was a kid. Call of Duty, NBA 2K. Like the best games are just the repeats. The new ones keep coming back out.
As we're having this conversation, there's this part of me, it's in my stomach, and it just keeps coming up like I'm going to vomit what I got to say because I can't not say this. When we're having this big conversation about video games, because I don't play them as an adult. I played very little when I was a kid. Will somebody out of the group here that has some level of playing video games on a regular basis explain to the people watching how important it is not to fucking waste your life doing this shit? I think we're talking about jumping back for a little nostalgia, having a little fun here and there. But the guy that sits on his couch with a box of Fruit Loops all day and plays video games, can we explain how that's not going to help them get what they want?
Luke, comment on that.
I got you here, John.
Thank you.
Let me just say that I'm not playing Super Mario every night. This is like my boy will open up the system and we'll check it out. I hear you. I think there are too many people that do this. A lot of these games, now. I play Friday night, Saturday night with my friends. That's it. But there are a lot of people that is all they do, and that is a problem. You got to get outside. You got to find that balance. Find some. You don't have to love sports, but find some athletic activity that you enjoy doing too. This whole thing that we're doing, this life thing, is all about balance and moderation. We can't go all in.
Well, I'll play devil's advocate. Some of the video gamers now are becoming millionaires. So, they stream the video games, they put them on YouTube and Twitch, and they making serious money. I'm not going to knock anybody's hustle.
But don't those dudes actually take it serious? They're not the dudes. Yeah. They're not the guy that's not the 13-year-old with a box of donuts and a thing of Fruit Loops on the couch. That's that just gets pissed off. Those gamers, they train for that like an athlete trains to be the best in what they're doing. So you can't compare. I mean, in
You're
today's
right.
world, you give a 13-year-old a box of donuts or a couple of boxes of cereal, a couch, and a video game controller. You won't see that son of a bitch for weeks.
We're talking how to be the 1% and not the average. And we're going to segue the conversation to Jon and Marty in the gym here. We've been talking nostalgia. We've been talking about you boys just sitting and spending all your hours on the couch playing video games. If you're doing that, that ain't going to help you be part of the 1%.
Missing the point. That's right.
Exactly, right? So go play. Get your shit done in the morning. Here's the thing, boys. The loop goes every 24. Get your ass up in the bed early. Get your shit done. Get your tasks done. Go love your wife. Go love your family. Go love yourself. Go achieve all those goals. Get through all your habits all day. Then open up the console. Then maybe you want to open up the old Nintendo.
And
Then,
what Luke is saying too, brother, it's what he said. And if people didn't pick this up, he does it with friends on a social basis, much like watching a fight or a football game. It's not isolation by himself, rotting away as missing opportunities with life. It's a social outing. Some people go to friend's house to watch a football game, a basketball game. Some, who knows? He's socializing with his games. It's not overrunning his life.
yes.
Exactly.
All right. Okay, so you guys hear that sound there? Listen.
Oh my God.
Oh, that's Jon and Marty walking to the gym. Luke, do you hear that? I know it's one of your favorite sound effects. It's my favorite sound effect.
I
Tried
don't
to
know
give
what
that to
sounds.
you. Tried to give that to
House.
and he rejected it. So you give it to us.
He did
What is wrong with
reject
you? What is wrong with you? Come
All
on,
right,
man.
so the boys are walking to the gym.
As Marty says, see, I got my Marty invitation. Come on, man.
Keith and Luke are going to head back to the green room for a few minutes. Marty and Jon are going to step on stage for the next 11, and they're going to talk about In the Gym with Jon and Marty, a brand new segment. Listen, boys, you're not going to get what you're going to get from Jon. Look, they're running now. They're running to the gym. Listen. They're getting faster. They're going to the gym faster. Luke, we got to get off stage. They're going to talk breaking through plateaus. They're going to talk biohacking. They're going to give you guys advice you're not going to get anywhere. Coming up right now, Mornings in the Lab with Keith, Jon, CMartyFit. It's a new segment called In the Gym with Jon and Marty. Boys, you are up.
Oh man.
First thing we got to do is shake off that terrible sound effect. Jesus.
That was awful. Yeah, we got to
Yeah.
get it. While we're in here, Keith, work on another sound.
Yeah,
Work on another one
that's it.
while we're here.
Well, that's tomorrow. That's unacceptable to open the segment with that tomorrow. That ain't happening. So the topic. Why don't we talk about the term biohack seems to be very hot right now.
Yep.
And when we talk about biohack in the gym, what are we talking about? Ways to hack the things that you do with your body to get a little bit more out of what you're doing. I mean, what do we want? We want to invest some effort and get back more than we invested. And the gym can be that way if you do the things you need to do. So I'm going to say the first biohack that I want to put on the table, and it's the number one performance enhancing element that we have as human beings, and that's called sleep. If you want to get better results from the time you spend in the gym, focus on your sleep. And we can go into some different sleep hygiene tips for sure. But Marty, why don't you talk about how important sleep is for everyone?
Yeah, man, sleep is key, and it's probably the most slept on element of getting your fitness goals, right? So when you sleep, that's where your muscle builds, right? So your muscle does not build on bench press Monday or
International Bench Day.
Yeah, or leg day Wednesday, whatever you do legs. That's not when the muscle builds. It builds in your sleep, and the fat burns in your sleep. The fat doesn't burn on. I'm gonna do cardio after my lift session. That's not where it burns. So, sleep is essential. That's where your muscles repair. The muscle tissues repair, and you got to sleep. If you're not sleeping and you somehow hit a plateau, which we're going to talk about plateaus in a little bit, you got to evaluate your sleep.
And the sleep can play right. If your sleep is poor, then you're definitely giving yourself, you're opening the door pretty big for that plateau to show up. Sleep is like, it is an essential piece of the equation because you got your nutrition, you got your training, and you got your rest and recovery. You take one of those away, and the circuit doesn't complete, and it backfires. And so that sleep is massive when it comes to getting the results you're looking for. I would say the next biohack that I think, Marty, people don't quite understand is they're eating in a way that they think is helping them get what they want. And I eat clean. That's a really big term.
Yeah.
But
I'm not eating that bad.
Yeah, exactly. So here's the thing. Clean or not that bad, if you're using society's rules for that, you're missing the boat. You know, it's like the simple way to go about it is this. If you want to use the hack in terms of what you eat to help you get great progress, you're going to really need to just get rid of processed foods. Processed foods are filled with all sorts of chemicals your body can't use. Marty, take that one.
Oh yeah, for sure. You always say it, one ingredient foods on here, right?
Single ingredient. Yep, absolutely.
Single ingredient foods. And then a lot of people, for whatever reason, eating clean or not eating that bad, they jump straight to salads. And yeah, eat a salad, but what kind of salads do we want to eat, right? We want to have dark green veggies, right? We don't want to have the iceberg and romaine lettuce necessarily. You don't want to have the ranch dressing or those high calorie, high fat, high sugar, some of those dressing. Get you a balsamic vinaigrette dressing, and put a little bit on there. You don't need all of that. But there are a lot of misconceptions when it comes to salads, especially going to a salad restaurant. There's a way to get salads there as well. So real quick before I throw the salads to you, we got Yoel says, what's your schedule for rest periods between excessive workouts? You want to tackle that one, John?
Absolutely. So when it comes to it goes down to listening to your body. A lot of people say, I wait 60 seconds, I wait 90 seconds, and I wait 3 minutes between when I change your exercises. Okay, that's great. You're starting off. You're moving in the right direction. But what you want to think about is, I refer to it as your sweet spot. What your sweet spot is this. That means you've taken enough rest from the last set that you can get back to the next one and kick ass again. You go back too quick, you don't have it in the tank. You're basically haven't recharged, so to speak, to keep it simple. You wait too long, you're wasting time. So the sweet spot, by listening to your body, you're going to be more efficient at getting your workouts done, but more importantly, you're going to get more results from what you're doing because you're listening to what your body's telling you.
And if you're lifting, whether you're doing lifting or, HIIT, whatever it is, you should have to take a rest break. You should have to recover before you get to the next set, because if you don't, you're not going hard enough. You're not lifting heavy enough, or you're not sprinting hard enough, right?
Yeah.
Like, if I have my clients sprint and they jumping right to the next sprint right after the other one, I'm like, you're not really sprinting.
And
go ahead.
I was going to say that whole thing that I was referencing, I'm glad you brought that up, Marty, was more about weightlifting, because there are types of training where you're going to be asked to go again before you recover on purpose. So when the sweet spot, when I'm explaining, that's really more of a weightlifting thing. How do you get the most out of your session training with weights? Obviously, there are many different forms of exercise where you're going to be asked to go again when you're not ready to go. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about maximizing each set in the weight room or at the gym. So
absolutely. And
so keep going. Sorry, bro. Go ahead. Keep interrupting.
He says, Yoel says, what are your different types of diets for the different types of workouts that you're doing? Bulking, cutting, performance training, pre-competition, etc. So I'll throw this to Johnny, but I want to add something real quick. Your diet is pretty much, it's going to be the same. The thing that's going to change is the amount of carbs, the amount of calories you eat, but you still your foundation is still going to be lean protein, complex carbs, vegetables, fruits, those single ingredient foods Johnny was referring to. But Johnny, you can get more specific with that.
Yeah, I always like to make the joke, there was a time on this planet we all knew for a fact the world was flat. Well, we know better than that now. Well, there was also a time on this planet when we knew that we had to bulk and cut to put on muscle mass. That's not the case anymore. You can basically put on muscle and still stay relatively fit. You don't have to get fat to put on muscle, although lots of times people still like the idea of eating whatever they want to get fat to put on muscle.
They want to eat pizza.
Yeah, it's like a license to eat whatever they want. But if you're truly looking to make progress, just like Marty said, the root and the foundation of your diet is going to be the same. It's actually very small changes, to whether you want to gain or whether you want to lose. And when I say lose, we're really talking about lose would be body fat, gain would be muscle. It's a very subtle difference. But what you got to get away from is having these two completely separate diets for gaining and losing. That's going to basically, that's a guaranteed way to waste a lot of time.
Exactly. So, and I wanted to talk about plateaus.
Yes.
And some of the things, a lot of people, we could break this down all day, but I'm going to try to keep it brief. But when you hit a plateau, 9 times out of 10, you haven't been in the gym long enough. You didn't hit a plateau after 2 months or 3 months in the gym. I guarantee you didn't hit a plateau. Now, if you did hit a plateau, if it's been a year and a half, you feel like you're not changing, I would say, let's look at your water intake, right? Let's look at the cardio you're doing and how much cardio you're doing. Maybe you need to lift heavier, and maybe you just need to eat cleaner. You might have to, maybe decrease some carbs, maybe increase carbs. But there's always a tweak that has to be made. Your body didn't just hit a plateau, and that's where you got to stay the rest of your life. That's not how this works. So you just got to figure out what it is. So you can always, get a trainer or ask me and Johnny. You want to go in on that, Johnny?
100%. And I like it. Sometimes when people understand how the body works, it makes it easier to avoid the plateau. So we, as human beings, there was a time when the number one concern for a human being was just to survive. That was it. Yep. So whatever we dealt with on a daily basis, that was really, really difficult. So the body had to constantly adapt, because one day we might have had to, walk 15 miles to find some food to bring back to the other people that we were trying to serve. Another day we might have had to run from a wild animal. There's just, every day was different. So the body was always adapting to what happened today to make sure it could deal with it tomorrow. So the body is a highly, highly adaptive creature based upon its programmed to survive. So a plateau, what that means is that you've repeated the same process too many times, and your body has adapted to that process. So the constant change in your training, the constant change in your diet, the whole thing has got to be think of like a moving target. If you can keep that thing moving and you can keep, hitting the bullseye, that's the key. If that dartboard is in the same spot, you're hitting the bullseye too long, the body's going to go, okay, I don't need to adapt or get better to do this tomorrow. All your shit stops.
Yep. And Yoel has another question. What would you say is the difference between a plateau and your physical limit? I don't know how Johnny feels about this, but listen, there's no such thing as a physical limit. I'm going to tell you this right now. And Johnny just talked about adapting. Your body is going to adapt to what you put it through. So you can take your body to the next level. The reason why we have these high-performing athletes, and not saying that you have to become an Olympic athlete or a professional or anything like that, but the reason we have these people, playing at high levels and doing these crazy leaps and sprinting is because they push themselves to get there, right? And you have to continue to put your body under that stress. You got to attack that central nervous system, attack that high intensity. It might not be for everybody. It might not be for you specifically, but there's no such thing as a physical limit. And we just broke down a plateau pretty much. So if you hit that plateau, you got to address something. Go ahead, John.
And it comes down like this, which to totally support what you're saying. The body will continue to adapt. There's no question about that. The question is, are you putting things in front of it that makes it adapt? Because if it really comes down to the person, do you have the guts, the nuts, the stones, whatever you want to do to continue to do something a little bit more challenging to continue to make the body to adapt? The body will adapt. The question is, the person that's trying to do something a little bit more challenging every day, do they have the nuts to continue that on a daily basis?
All right.
Good stuff, man.
Boys, great stuff. Talking plateaus, talking difference between plateaus, physical limits, and pushing yourself and so forth. Luke Schmidt, Mornings in the Lab, Keith Bilous, Jon Andersen, how to be that 1% better. The boys are walking out of the gym. You can hear them. Yeah, going down the snowbanks, going down the snowbanks. We're gonna get some better sound effects. I think Luke's digging it though. I think our guest here today is loving because John Marty, Luke's from nostalgia. So Luke's like, oh yeah, that's what it sounds like walking through the snowfields of Wisconsin. Hey, Luke.
Yeah, I mean, look, you got the snowshoes on. Yeah, that's kind of how it sounds like, I guess.
That's it.
Well, see, let's just get this straight. I don't reside where I have to shovel snow. You can't shovel it's impossible to shovel sunshine. And I choose to reside in those places. You're not going to give me a sound effect that has to do with shoveling snow. Here's the deal. Marty, let's make a pact that tomorrow, if he plays that before our segment, we're just going to sit there in silence and protest in silence.
I'm going to get you better one. I'm going to get you better one.
Yeah, I'm gonna work on it too. I'll find something. We need like a let's freaking go. Like let's, you know what I mean? There's need something like that for the gym, you know?
Boys, leaders who are perceived as authentic are 2 times more likely to inspire trust and loyalty in their teams. That comes from Harvard Business Review. Luke, you've mentioned that posting the first take as a way to keep it real. How does that mindset apply to how entrepreneurs and business leaders can show up authentically in their marketing or leadership? Luke Schmidt.
Well, I mean, look, if you are able to put yourself out there, be authentic, build that trust, you've got people that are already on your side. Because what people look for most, what the foundation of every relationship is trust, honesty, integrity. If you can trust someone, you'll go with them. You'll go with them far and wide.
Yeah, that's a good point, brother. For sure.
John, Marty, how have you ever found yourself chasing trends? And if you found yourself chasing trends, how did that impact your long-term vision? I know, John, you're a very focused individual, and you are, Marty, as well. But have you guys found yourselves going, oh, there's a trend there, I got to jump onto it, and then as you're in it, you're going, oh, wait a minute, this is getting in the way of my vision. Lean into that, Johnny.
I basically, through the challenge I had early in my life, I basically had learned to accept failure, learned to pursue it earlier, started to understand who I was, and this was me, and just be me. And I realized very quickly it took me away from a trend. So if anything, I tend to probably, even though I might be attracted to a trend, I just find myself pushing away from it because generally speaking, I can't say that a trend, at least the ones we're seeing in current time, are actually helping me be a better me.
Yes, absolutely. Marty.
And I've, me being younger in the fitness industry, it's all trends. So I found myself doing trends, and I didn't see growth come from that. And I also look at the bigger picture. What do I want to be known for? Do I want to be known for doing the trendy thing, the crazy workout?
Yeah,
that looks cool, or do I want to be known as an actual coach that's respectable, that's knowledgeable? And I'm kind of like the same thing Johnny said.
Well, and the trends are for the average man. And I take a big stance. I don't want to be average. I'm happy to say if average is right, I've never been happier to be wrong. And so a trend, the masses run and jump on that, which pretty much tells me it's not going to be for me.
Yes. Luke, how do you find the balance with showing your flaws while still maintaining professionalism, both in social as you show up for work, but also with your team? How do you balance those two, Luke Schmidt?
Well, it's not easy. You need to really put yourself out there, and each person's going to have a different line. What are you comfortable with? What is fitting for your team at that time? Sometimes people need to hear, a certain level of vulnerability and authenticity, and other times they need it toned down a little. So you really have to have a sense of you have to read the room. You have to know when you should go further, when you shouldn't. But more often than not, I think a lot of people pull the ripcord too early. You can go further, and the further you go, the closer you get to that line, the farther you will go as a leader, and the farther your team will go.
It's interesting you say that. You said that you think most people pull the ripcord too early. Like that's the kind of Kool-Aid that we drink here in the lab that I know John's talking about, Marty's talking about, and you heard in their gym segment, which is, how do you know when, something along the lines of, what was it, plateauing, Marty or John? Well, no, you're not plateauing. You just got to work harder, right? Because there's no plateau, is there, Marty?
No, there's no plateau.
No, yeah, right. So
you don't know what you're doing. Holla at Jon Andersen.
So if you're doing it right, you're not dealing with that 3-4 month, oh my God, I'm going to quit. If you're doing it right, a plateau is just like a flash of, okay, I need to make a change so I continue to adapt. It's a signal.
Our friend Mike McQuillan joins us here in the lab. Shake and Mike, good to have you here. Hey, I said your name right. I'll be speaking tonight about how I took a stand against paleo. That was a horrible trend that Mike talks about here. Boys, want to comment on paleo? Marty?
I'll jump in. Shit, it's when it comes down to it, there's all these different, there's paleo, there's keto, there's carnivore. Here's the thing. These are such simple guidelines. And generally speaking, if people don't know shit, it's great for them to have simple guidelines. But you got to realize that these simple guidelines are just kind of a 101. They're a starter. Okay, yes, I can understand the simple guidelines. I can get a little momentum going. And at that point, you got to start to invest yourself in learning more and find out what works for you. So I think for the beginner standpoint, grabbing a paleo, a keto, a carnivore just to get started, that's great. But you got to realize that it's not going to be the plan that's going to get you to where you want to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Real quickly, I know we got to move on, but there's no too good to be true hack. Right. Yes. There's no magic card or our body needs certain nutrients, and if you focus on those, that's going to get the results. A lot of these things, paleo, keto, carnivore, you're going to lack somewhere in something that our body needs. So I would just keep that in mind before you jump and go do that. Yeah.
Luke, you mentioned vulnerability and overcoming the fear of it to become that 1%, to not be like the average person. Like John's like, I'm not going to be average. Marty's like, I'm not going to be average. I have no interest in being average either. 70%, according to Psychology Today in 2023, say 70% of people say that they experience, John, we talked about this before, imposter syndrome at some point in their career, often feeling unworthy of their success. John and Marty, before I come to you boys, Luke, talk about the fear of judgment. Talk about imposter syndrome. Have you experienced it, and how have you overcome that, Luke Schmidt?
Oh, God, yeah. Imposter syndrome's real. I think it's real in every field, if you're being honest with yourself, unless you've got this, hyper-inflated ego. And it's something we all encounter. And I think it's especially prevalent in software engineering, which is the field that I work in. A lot of people, this is a very difficult field, very technical, a lot of really high performing people out there. And so it's something that comes up, and I don't think it ever really goes away. No matter what your profession is, it kind of sticks around. And if you're not careful, you can let that fear really beat you down and really beat you down to be average. And so you just got to keep tabs on it. Anytime you start feeling that way, you have to be aware, this concept of metacognition, right? Being aware of how you're thinking and feeling, and then saying, okay, I know what this is. And then you got to shut it down.
Yeah. Johnny, get into your conversation with imposter syndrome, brother.
Yeah, I got to jump on this one. So the thing about imposter syndrome, if you're making progress, you're constantly stepping into new territory. That's a great thing. And imposter syndrome is it's like a barometer. It tells you that you're constantly moving into new territory, because if you stay the same, at some point, you would become comfortable with it, and you don't feel like you're pretending or you're an imposter. So I look at it, if I'm constantly moving forward at a rate that I'm happy with, that feeling is always going to be there. And it's like recognizing as an entrepreneur, you're going to feel uncomfortable a lot. You accept it. You realize these are like the signals that tell you you're doing the shit right, that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. So flip the script. Look at it as a barometer. If you're an entrepreneur, you're trying to make progress, you're always in new territory, which means you're always going to have that feeling.
Yeah. Hey, Marty, question for you, brother. The 1% often use what others see as weaknesses, be it personal struggles, unconventional ideas, or even flaws. as key differentiators that set us apart. Marty, how can entrepreneurs and business leaders use their so-called weaknesses as a competitive edge in their industry? And when I'm asking that question, I'm thinking in my head about your journey from D1 to fitness trainer and how you had to hack your way through time and through life to achieve some goals along the way. But Marty, let's get into that. How can business leaders and entrepreneurs use their so-called weaknesses as a competitive edge in their industry? Marty?
Oh yeah, I love this question. But you have to embrace it, right? So since you just brought up I wasn't even going to bring this up, but you brought up my basketball career. I didn't go to the NBA. I didn't play pro, right? So I embraced that. So now here I am at 22, 23. I can make my transition into the real world where I have friends now at 31. You know, we're getting older. Now they're retiring and they're trying to figure out their way into the real world and they're losing their fucking minds and they don't know what to do. So they come to me for help, right? And I just look at, at some point, my weakness is probably someone else's weakness, and I can probably help them with that. And you can start a business off of your weakness, So I started my training business off of my basketball contacts. No, basketball didn't work out, but now I have everyone's mom, dad, uncle, aunt, sister, brother, boyfriend, girlfriend. Now they coming to train with me. So embrace your weakness, embrace whatever you're struggling with, and you can turn it into a strength.
Johnny, comment on that, please.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes, especially the whole conversation of 1%er doesn't see problems; he sees opportunities.
Yes,
1%er doesn't see problems; he sees challenges. And when it comes down to it, no matter what gets put in front of you, you flip the script, you find a silver lining, you find a way to move ahead from whatever lands in front of you, and that right there, it's like. We have zero control of what happens around us, but we have 100% control of how we react to it. So when it comes down, you got to decide: are you taking that lemon and making lemonade? Because if you're not, you're missing out.
Yes, that's why Jon and Marty and Luke, you've been tuning into the show, so I suspect you know who I'm talking about next. That's why it became very easy for us to welcome Rich Ingram into the lab, and it became very easy to have him join the team because. When you lose your arm and you decide that life now becomes about possibilities and about what I can do instead of what I can't do, how can you not be inspired by that? And speaking of, Jon, Marty, have you guys, and if you haven't, I'm gonna send you some stuff I was reading last night. Have you guys looked into the Leadville 100, which Rich Ingram just crushed here last month? Have you looked at that accomplishment? Johnny, I know you've accomplished some extraordinary things in your life. Marty, you too. Have you guys checked out the Leadville 100 and what Rich actually accomplished?
Just the things that he said made it seem brutal, and he's a pretty modest dude, so I can only imagine how brutal that thing was.
So you talk about getting to the 1% and embracing opportunity. You got to dig into a guy like Rich Ingram and chasing that 1% and chasing what scares you to be that real human being. But as we wrap up the conversation about being the 1%er, Luke, I want to look to you for the final word, man. How has showing your authentic self and even admitting weaknesses opened doors for you in tech, in leadership, with your team, or even with your family? Luke Schmidt, final word to you today, pal.
Well, it's changed my life. There's no other way to say it. These things are game changers. For anyone that's uncertain, that wants to do it, but can't push themselves to do it, just try it. It's going to be terrifying. But guess what? That first time is the scariest it will be. And after that, you're off to the races. Because you know that feeling will never be more scary than that first attempt. It slowly, each time gets easier and easier. Your confidence, your self-assuredness, it grows. People can sense that. Your family's going to love you more because you're bringing more to the table. You're more confident. You're giving them everything that they need. Your workers are going to see that. They're going to push for you. They're going to support you. They're going to produce for you. It's just the only way to be, in my book.
So good, brother. So good, man. That is such good stuff right there.
Thank you.
You are hanging out. Keith Bilous, Jon Andersen, CMartyFit, and the bagpipes. Yeah, it's 9:30 Eastern time. Hanging out with our guest, Luke Schmidt. We're talking about the 1%, how to be the 1%. And at this point in the show, boys, we're extending it. John's going to go for a break. He's got to go for a pee break.
Yes, I do.
The show typically wraps up. And I know John's going to be walking out of the lab here in a second here. We're going to extend the show. We're working toward the 2-hour block here today. We're not going to get to 2 hours today. What we're going to do now is Johnny's going to make himself off to the restroom break. And I'm going to continue the show for a little bit longer. We're going to get into the community spotlight, where we are going to get into our creator spotlight. We're going to talk with somebody we're going to celebrate here in a moment. And we're going to come back and wrap the show up. So, Johnny, you're going to take off for a break. You're welcome to come back. We're going to be here for a little bit longer, my friend, for a few more moments. Luke, you're welcome to stick around as well. And Marty, you as well, because typically we wrap the show up. But we're working to extend the show a little longer with some additional content and additional segments. So at this point, we're going to walk Johnny out for a quick second. And Johnny, you come back. It's great, brother. We're going to have out there, and we are going to do this. I love the bagpipes. Oh, I just love the sound of the bagpipes. Luke, I see you. You're loving them too, eh?
I mean, we were talking about wrestling. I can't help but think of Roddy Piper, right? I mean, this is some classic wrestling music to me.
That's exactly it. And you know where Roddy Piper's from? Roddy Piper's from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, where I reside, boys.
Is he really?
Excellent.
Yes, he is. Yeah, he's just down the road from Marty. Yeah, he's down the road. All right, so listen. Oh, just looking at the comments here. You all, Adams, yes, you just missed that conversation. Going to the gym, getting past your plateaus. Yes. The tritoner. Yeah, you're right. The tritoner, or whatever your name is there. Yeah, sorry. Go to the gym. That's a good first step, brother. You're absolutely correct. And listen.
He missed that convo.
You missed that convo. The tritoner. We invite you here to join the show here earlier in the day. We go 8 o'clock Eastern time. All right, so listen, we're going to get into our creator spotlight here on the show here. And Jimmy, I'm going to go and find my LinkedIn feed here. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to start introducing our creator. It is somebody who helps leaders develop peak performance through biohacking, nutrition, and mindset coaching. Ex-commerce entrepreneur, agency entrepreneur, agency owner, building multiple brands from scratch while traveling the world and thriving as an athlete. Now, this lady lives on her bike. She is a hardcore cyclist. She's got a real no BS approach, known for calling out her clients' BS to help them break out of the comfort zones and unlock potential. She's passionate about longevity. She integrates neuroscience, biohacking, and functional health to help her clients design a life they don't need a vacation from. Today's creator spotlight for Mornings in the Lab, today on Monday. I'm just going to try to find my there we go there. Today's creator spotlight for Mornings in the Lab is today somebody from Vancouver, Canada. It is going to be Jimmy. You ready to rock and roll, pal? Let's do it. It is Katie Poon. So Katie is from Vancouver, Canada. I've been following Katie over on LinkedIn for a while now, and Katie does some great stuff. She is a longevity expert, queen of healthy, wealthy brands, unapologetic peak performance coaching. She creates well-rounded as fuck leaders, biohacking, nutrition, ex-e-commerce, entrepreneur, agency owner. Boys, Katie Poon's a machine, man. You look at her content, she is absolutely a machine. She has great content that's going to help you get motivated. It's going to help you, get your life going. She produces motivating content. Boys, she eats clean. She gets her cardio in. She gets her lifting in. She is unapologetically herself, nonstop in the feeds. And I cannot encourage all of you enough to find and follow Katie Poon. She's a badass business athlete. She represents, John, the 1% who push past limits in both business and personal life. Marty, she has a holistic approach to success. She shows us that true success is about balancing health and wealth. And she's got a no excuse approach to others be fierce and unapologetic. Here's the thing, guys. You want to connect with Katie, learn more about her strategies for peak performance and longevity on LinkedIn. And if you want to become a well-rounded as fuck leader and take your life and business to the next level, I encourage you to check out Katie Poon, who we are celebrating today on our Mornings in the Lab Creator Spotlight. Katie, you come hang out in the lab. I love the content you're putting out there, and I love how you help people be accountable and achieve their biggest goals. So there's Katie making great content there in the lab. All right, boys. So listen, we extended the show a little bit today, and we're going to continue to wrapping it up here in the Business Athlete Performance Lab, Mornings Lab with Keith, Jon, Marty, and our guest Luke Schmidt here today. Luke, comments on the show today as we wrap it up, pal. Any feedback for us? How can we make this thing better?
Guys, this has been a lot of fun. I mean, this is really what it's all about, talking about how to improve, how to really drive yourself. I love the morning show vibe. I think there should be more of it. I love that this exists. Keep doing your thing.
Yes, we are going to attempt to do that. You guys have noticed that our lovely producer, Christina Flynn, has been absent today. And, I do have the cord. Do you think we should phone Tina?
Leave her alone, man. Leave her alone, man.
Okay, I'll put the phone down. We'll leave.
And I think we had audio issues. I don't think she could hear us anyway. She only hear you.
We got to test that out next time though. So we'll test that out here. But we're gonna go towards wrapping up the show, Jimmy. We're gonna skip the last part here, last 50 minutes, while we keep building this thing out, and we're gonna wrap it up and continue our day. Luke, man, great content today. Thanks for helping us talk about the 1%. Thanks for talking about Super Mario Brothers. Thanks for giving us some things to think about in the video game industry and so forth. How can Nation find Luke Schmidt? How can they engage with you? And where do we go from there, Luke?
Well, look, my thing right now is just networking, growing, getting to meet people, putting myself out there. Like I said, just a few months that I've been doing this back in LinkedIn. So in LinkedIn, look for me, Luke Schmidt, your favorite software engineering comedian. Sometimes I tell jokes. Sometimes I talk about nostalgia. Sometimes I talk about AI, and I am an ed tech leader. So anything you need that fits those categories, you know where to find me on LinkedIn, and maybe I'll be bringing my talents to YouTube too. So we'll see.
Maybe. What do you mean? Maybe. So you don't have a YouTube channel, do you?
Nope, not officially yet.
It might be time to start one there, Luke Schmidt.
Oh yeah, let's get it. Let's get it.
Let's get it.
Thanks, guys.
Let's get it. All right, boys and girls, it's time to wrap it up. Johnny, you have yourself a great day. Marty, you have yourself a great day. And Luke Schmidt, you have yourself a great day. And Nation, we'll see you guys back here tomorrow, 8 o'clock Eastern time. Mornings on the lab with myself, Jon, Marty, and we got a guest, Adam House, coming in tomorrow into the lab. We are talking about character tomorrow, 8 o'clock, mornings in the lab.